We are here live with Mr. Bromfield. So, how's it going, man?
Not too bad. Not too bad. Time's flying. We're already almost mid-June. I can't believe it. So,
Tell me about it. Tell me about it. I went out today to the gym. I'm trying to slim down for the summer. We'll see. We'll see how that
okay.
we'll see how that works out. With the barbecues going on and all that, it might not work out that well. But listen, I wanted to have a conversation with you today because, as you know, there's been a lot of different things in the news. And I want to, start with an article that I wrote the other day. And, I quoted you in that article. So the topic of today really is going to be on entrepreneurship, authentic entrepreneurship, because since George Floyd or whatnot, entrepreneurship has become, I don't know, it's like a woke thing. I don't really know. And everybody thinks they can engineer and manufacture, join an organization, and all of a sudden you can become an entrepreneur too.
Right.
So I wrote an article which actually has come from the Globe and Mail, and the article says Mars slashes top ranks, right? And then I go on say the ever evolving utility of intelligence automation technologies. Basically saying that technology has made a significant change in just the way we live, work, and play, particularly in business.
hmm
Um, so you had a quote there. Now I'm gonna try to try to I should have found it, but essentially what you said was that entrepreneurship is not a social group, right? And you can't make up for sort of an entrepreneur hustle. So long story short, what did you mean by that when you talked about entrepreneurship is not a social group? Give me a little bit of color on your thinking in regards to your comment.
Well, it starts with entrepreneurship is hard work, right? And it's
Yeah.
a risk, right?
Hmm.
And it's a lifestyle, right?
Yeah.
You got to be dedicated to this thing 100%.
Yeah.
You're burning cash, especially in the startup, right?
Yeah.
And so if you're not making revenue, you're going in the hole, right?
Yeah.
So how you spend your time is of the most importance, right?
Yep.
And so
Yep.
my thing would be, or my advice would be on activities that are generating revenue, right? Instead of feel good entrepreneur get-togethers where you're meeting other entrepreneurs and whatnot, but you need to be selling, you need to be building, right? Especially in
Mhm.
those early stages and throughout. I mean, we saw what
Yep.
happens if you get complacent. What happened to BlackBerry, right?
Yep. Yep.
So
Yep.
it never ends. Once you get on this
Yep.
treadmill, there's no there's no easy going.
No, 100%. And what you said was, so for example, with Mars is, a big, for people don't know, is it's a big space downtown. And the idea is when the government, or whoever, created it, it was a space where you can come and you can listen to others. And, it's sort of an incubator for entrepreneurship.
Right.
But okay, great idea. But in the real world, as you have technology, and particularly in my business, in terms of the technology that we're trying to build with our software, entrepreneurs can get a lot of that information or a lot of that data or a lot of that knowledge online. I mean, with a little bit of work, you can get all of those resources and build a strategy. So, what is the benefit of, as you said, if as an entrepreneur, wasting a lot of time, money, traveling, gas, whatever, when you can just sit at your desk and use technology, AI, whatever, to gather the knowledge that you need to and go. Because a real entrepreneur is not going to waste time sitting there listening to people, talk or make or give them advice if it doesn't benefit them. We don't care about the socialization. We just care about the information and the that we need and the knowledge that we need to move forward. So
Right.
what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, so first of all, the socialization that you just mentioned, we care about socialization. It's with those who can cut checks, right?
Yes, exactly.
So
That's right.
whatever our business is, we will spend the time socializing with those who will cut the check, right? And I'm not just
Exactly.
talking VC, I'm talking about your customer accounts, depending on what kind of business you are, right?
Yep.
Or if you're a subscription model, B2C,
Mhm.
it's creating the enticement, the value that people are signing up even when you're sleeping. That's what your
Yep.
primary goal is, right?
Yep.
So I've seen a lot of people where and this is what I noticed, in the beginning of this stuff was that usually a lot of people were entrepreneurs because they got laid off of work and they had
Yep.
been laid off for a while. So they went the entrepreneurship route um, because that was an alternative. And the first chance they had to get a full-time job, they were gone, right?
Yep.
And
Yep.
which is fine. It's
That's right.
totally understandable, right? But it speaks to there is a difference between the true entrepreneur that says, "Hey, this is my vision." And I know without a doubt, I'm going to get kicked down a number of times, but I'm going to keep getting up and I'm going to win.
Yep.
Eventually, I'm going to win, right?
Yep. Yep.
So I think that as you said, the authentic entrepreneur, right? They're
Yep.
in it. They went and they left their job. Or even if they got laid off and they pursued it, they said, I'm sticking this one right into the end zone,
Yep.
right? Or as
Yep.
far as I can get, right? It's not,
Yep.
I'm going to bail out the first chance I get, right?
Exactly.
So that changes the equation tremendously when we're looking at these programs in terms of the urgency, the drive, even the business ideation, right?
Yep.
Right. So again, so when we come back and we're looking at, these organizations that say we're going to help you with your pitch deck, or we're going to help you, we're going to mentor you, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. The thing about entrepreneurship, everybody starts on a completely different starting line.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No entrepreneur is the
Yep.
same. No two
Yep.
entrepreneurs are the same. They're not.
Yep.
They've got
Yep.
more money, they've got access. Whatever, there's a billion variables that makes that starting line different for every single entrepreneur. So
Yep.
you can't kind of you can't systemize it the way that they were trying to do, in my opinion. And I haven't seen it work.
Yeah, yeah, no, 100%. So what I'm going to do here, as you know, I'm in the yeah, I'm in the fact-based business. So I'm going to read a little bit from my article that I sort of want you
Right.
to comment, right? So I say here, Mars, like the rest of these organizations, has an quote application for entry into the process, right? Which means they are looking for a specific set of characteristics, right? So what I say here is this breeds uniformity, and it's counterintuitive, and it's counterproductive to entrepreneurship, which is exactly what you said. So I'm reading this still here. Many incubators and or accelerators also take on a boot camp approach with a cult-like manifestation, and the bigger ones, sort of the bigger sort of ones like the Mars, they lure entrepreneurs in by giving them investment dollars. Okay, but what the capital does, right? The capital acts as a conformer, right? So for entrepreneurship, you have to offer something different. You have to have a unique value proposition. But the capital that they give you, okay, you conform to our of how you. That's crazy, counterproductive and counterintuitive, right? So these organizations, instead of finding what's unique, you know, in this particular business, they all try to conform. And if everybody's doing the same thing, then how can you stand out, and how could you be a business or a new value or service that people want? Does it making sense?
Absolutely. And a good entrepreneur who has a strong value proposition, who really has something, they pick the VC. VC
Yes,
doesn't pick them.
that's right.
They pick the VC. They
That's right.
say, you can help me execute my vision. You're not
Yep.
changing my vision, right?
Yep.
Because
Yep.
because like you said, if the thing is that you come up with an idea, they hack it up into what they think it's going to be,
Yep.
then what makes you different than a staff member at that point,
Yep.
right?
No, 100%.
Your vision's gone. You have no control of your vision, right?
Yep.
And so again, even when it comes to the pitch deck and all those things, it's like revenue beats the pitch deck.
Yes, that's right.
right? If you can show your book of business that, you know, even if you still need VC and you're not going to make it big without the VC, if you still go in and you're showing a book of business, you
Yes,
in a completely different negotiating power, right?
yes.
You are picking your partner,
Yep.
not the
No,
other way around.
100%. 100%. And you know, and I'm actually right there right now. And exactly what you said is my exact you know, my exact way of approaching it. Because that the whole argument of engineering and entrepreneurship is just so counterintuitive. Now, you know, I'm one for facts. So let's take a look at the facts. So in the article,
Hmm.
and by the way,
Hmm.
for anybody who wants to know, the article can be found on my website, which is 6aitech.com, and you just click the blog section and the article is there. But according to a study from iterate.ai, okay, they went and did a study and they took three of the biggest accelerator programs in the world, Techstars,
Combinator, yeah.
Incubator, yeah, and 500 startups. Okay, those are the three wide varieties. So I looked at that study and I chose that because I think that's a pretty big sample size to to evaluate. So here's what they did: they've broken the results. So for the unicorns, right, in terms of what those incubators or the accelerators for the unicorns, here's the statistics. Um, for you, whoever who 138 over the last 20 years since these incubators have been 100, only 138 out of 9,749 startups have gone on through the big three to become unicorns, right?
And that's the big three.
That's the big three. Okay, that's the big three. The one with the big bucks, everything. Mario's not even in there, right?
Right.
1.5% success rate. Okay, 1.5 success rate. Now, the second one is they say here is the $100 million plus valuations for companies who's gone over $100 million plus valuations. In that range, 371, okay, have gone over that $100 million plus valuations out of 9,000. Okay, again, out of 9,749. So get to the percentage. The percentage rate is 3.8. Okay, 3.8
Right.
the big three, okay?
Right.
All the fancy people and former founders, 3.8 have gone plus the 100. Quickly now, the
Right.
moderate success. Moderate success means these are the startups that have achieved neither a value of 100 plus nor have they died. They're sort of kind of suspended there. And out of those startups, it's the 10.8 that I've gone through. Okay.
Right.
Now there's the last category I'm going to give you. It's called the Walking Dead. The Walking Dead and Dead. These account for the largest share of outcomes that have gone through the accelerator program. The Walking Dead are those startups that have neither exited nor closed down, but are stuck sort of in stagnation. Quickly, that percentage of that is 15.2. Okay, so the closing, just to wrap it up quickly, they also give you a statistic that's showing the difference in terms of success and failure going through an incubator versus not going into incubator. There's no difference. They have found they have found no difference if in terms of unicorn or moderate success or whatever, whether you've gone through an incubator, okay, versus not going through an incubator.
Right.
So for me, the numbers are the numbers,
Right.
right? So why do people think that all of a sudden, hey, I want to become an entrepreneur. Let me go through an incubator, spend money, spend time, go down there, have Starbucks, do nothing. Here, you know, maybe some founders come in and give you nice stories. But if the outcomes are no different, why would you waste your time with that?
Right. And just to back up, just to
Yeah.
point out of those big three,
Yes.
that you're talking Silicon Valley, you're in
Yes.
Silicon Valley,
Yes.
right?
Exactly.
You're
Yes.
you're in New York City, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And so the capital that we're talking about is nowhere close to anything you would raise in Canada. That's
Exactly.
that's number one,
Yes.
right? And
Yeah.
and still those numbers are low given 20 million startup fund or
Yeah.
right, a
Yeah.
raise, right?
Yeah.
So that's that. And let's even say low, let's low ball 2.5 mil
Yeah.
US, whatever the case may be,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
But still, we're talking different set of money. And then, like you said, different set of connections. Like,
Yes.
like
Yes.
the ecosystem you're in terms of other founders and business leaders and their network is next level. I've just like you, I've talked to those guys, right?
Yes,
I've been in those
absolutely.
rooms. I've
Yeah.
right. So
Yep.
so I know what's at the table and what's on offer. So it's actually even surprising to me when you read back those numbers what it is in actuality.
Yes.
So that, to your point, that really it almost coincides with another stat which a lot of people don't know, especially in tech, is that everybody thought that the tech startups or the most successful businesses were those started by young 20-year-olds, right? The Zuckerbergs
Yes.
and whatnot, right?
Yes.
Wherein it's actually an older class of entrepreneurship that is actually has more consistent
Yep.
positive takeoffs or launches,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And the reason being 40 plus is because you now have the experience and the relationships to
Yes.
help you take that business to where it needs to be, right?
100%. 100%. So you are dead right, and I know that stat, right? Because I saw that study. It's called the between 45 and 55. So for
Yep.
older farts like me, it did talk about Facebook, and when you see guys in the article was about you see guys in hoodies, and that's how you make it. That's a fantasy. That's movies. The most successful entrepreneurs are the ones who are between 45 and 50 launching because of everything you said, experience, network. They're not, they know what they want. They they don't buy into the hype, that type of thing. So the reality, the difference between reality and this alternative universe that's being created is really, really crazy, and it can be harmful. So that's a good segue now into my second issue. So, not second issue. So, beyond Mars, you have now so many organizations coming up and nonprofit organizations coming up saying they want to help entrepreneurship. Everybody and their grandmother and a bag of chips has an entrepreneurship program, right? And let's turn to the Black community because we get a lot of questions on that. At least I get a lot of questions on, how can the Black community grow its wealth? But there's so many organizations out there, particularly since George Floyd, that are coming around and saying, hey, we're going to start an entrepreneurship program, but they know nothing about entrepreneurship. They know nothing about the VC market. And my thing is that these organizations, nonprofit organizations, do more harm than good, because if you're an entrepreneur, if you've been through entrepreneurship, if you understand how it works, to say to somebody, "Oh, we're going to give you $50,000 in funding, or we're going to give you a $25,000 grant, or even $100,000," that does more harm than good. Because what has the entrepreneur done? Right? They have these contests and everything. What has the entrepreneur? So I think a lot of these organizations actually do more harm than they actually do good.
No, absolutely. There's so many points there, and even when we talk about the money, right? The
Yeah.
10,000 or whatever it is that they give you, startup and whatnot, right? In terms of being detrimental. So one thing is
Yeah.
that cash is king in
Yes.
entrepreneurship, right? And it's not for anybody. The reason why the barrier to entry is high is
Yes.
because you need to have capital to launch,
Yep.
and depending on what you're doing. So even if I'm starting up a restaurant, I have
Yep.
to secure that space, and then I have to renovate it and make
Yep.
it a place where people want to come and eat, or even
Yep.
if it's takeout, that everything is there to be as efficient as possible, so that if it's a Jamaican restaurant and I show up at 1 p.m., you're not out of Oxtail, right? So
We
so
know that too
so
well.
so from that standpoint, like you said, there's this there is no feel good aspect to entrepreneurship.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
It's dog eat dog. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's
Yeah.
competitors. People have heard me say it's primal. It's hunter gatherer. It's
Yep.
it's because that's what it is.
Yep.
You're competing.
Yes. Yes.
Business is competition. It's
Yes.
it's it's the highest form of competition, right?
Yep.
And so there is no easy way. So I'll take two steps. One
Sure.
thing, or
Take time.
2 points. One thing he said about the 50,000 or whatnot, right?
Whatever that
So
number
so
is.
for example, I went to school with someone whose parents owned a restaurant, right? And so when they came to this country as immigrants, They started a restaurant, but they were smart. They bought the building where the restaurant
Yeah.
was established, right? And it was in the heart of downtown.
Mhm.
So when he started his business, he got a good amount of investment from his parents. Not crazy, right? But a good amount.
Mhm.
His business partner, his father also started a business. It was in the trades, I believe. It was, I think it was HVAC company,
Mhm.
and was able to give his son a decent amount of investment. So they both came with, let's say, 300K, right?
Yep.
So you've got
Yep.
600K to start a business. With
Yep.
600K, you can actually create a plan and execute it because you have the capital to do it.
Correct. Correct.
If you
Correct.
get 50 here, 10 here, you're just keeping the lights on. You can never execute your strategy,
Correct. Correct.
right?
Correct.
So
Correct.
all those things are almost pointless unless you
Mhm.
can bootstrap it, right? Which is hard and it takes a number
Yes.
of years to do, right? Or you can secure that funding. But the other thing that what you're talking about did is it created the expectation that, woe is us, we're Black people, we don't get VC, right?
Yeah.
I know business owners from all different backgrounds that getting VC is hard. You know what I'm
It's
saying? It's extremely
hard.
hard, right?
Yeah.
And so why would and I said this to you the other day, so I hear all this stuff and they make it a race issue. So we are the only group, the only community that I've seen in my travels, my circles,
Yep.
of knowing business owners from all different communities, all different backgrounds, both here in the United States. We are the only group whose economic progress is completely 1000% pegged to guilting another group into giving us the
Hundred.
startup funds to to to
100%.
to launch, right?
100%.
And like
100%.
I said, so when my friend from university, he started his firm with his business partner, right? Um, so that first generation that came down, their parents and laid down the roots was, again, let's say 300,000. Was able to get them
Yep.
$300,000, 600,000.
Yep.
I think it was 8 years later they sold that for over 20 mil.
Yep.
Okay,
Yep. That's how it's done. Yep.
that's how it's done. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So
Yep.
that's the exponential factor
Hmm.
when you see it. So I think one thing that we don't do, and it's communicated, and I hear it in all these different programs and whatnot, is that it's like a get rich thing, quick thing. It's
Yeah. There's
not.
no such thing. No such thing.
You know what I mean? So for me, I've had opportunities to get VC. I've turned them down. I've accepted. But again, it's always been, what are the conditions that I'm comfortable doing this for, right? Because
Exactly.
at the end of the
Exactly.
day, it's not about me just generating income or revenue. It's about creating legacy, right?
Correct.
So I've said this a
Correct.
million times. My goal is to run the baton down the track as far as I can and
Yep.
pass it to my kids so that they can keep going. And a couple generations,
Yep.
they're having exits of that amount or whatever the case may be, right? But my thought process isn't, this is what I got to do for me. It's,
Yes.
this is what I got to do to so my kids can get a head start
Yep.
and carry on what I started, right?
Yep. Yep.
Um, so I think when we go back and we look at these programs and how entrepreneurship is discussed, it's not in that lens. You know what I
That's
mean?
right.
As
That's right.
again, it's an entitlement thing. We should get this money so that, and then again, it's easy. So once we get the money, we're going to be entrepreneurs. No, right? You read out the statistics from the top three. How many fail? This is not an easy thing. And then the other thing that we got to make sure that we're clear on
Mhm.
when we're talking about entrepreneurship, as a community and as these organizations, is what type of businesses are we talking about,
Yes. Yes.
right?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
when we talk about entrepreneurship, for you and I, we're thinking professional services firms that can scale, right?
Technologies. Yeah.
Right. So whether it's B2B or B2C, we're looking at scaling, and the revenue numbers that we have in our head are
Right.
massive. That's
Yes.
much different
Yes.
than if we're talking, a more locals type of business, right?
Yep.
And so I think part of the confusion too is like when we hear, the workshops and stuff that they're having for businesses, what type of businesses are you trying to get? And maybe that would clarify if they're saying this is the type of businesses that we're looking after, right? Or
Yep.
that we're catering to. But they're definitely not catering to those who have large aspirations and want to scale. They're not looking at professional services firms,
Yeah.
etc.
Yeah. And one of the things I think when we had discussed this before, I want to make it a point that nobody's saying here nonprofit organizations are not good.
Right.
You do need organizations, but we got to be very careful about when we create these nonprofit organizations, that we actually know what we're doing and we actually understand the facts. As you've explained, VC is hard. A lot of the same situations you described, I'm going through, and we have the same mentality, and we're looking to build technology-based business that we can scale. We're talking about trying to build billion-dollar businesses, right? But so you have a situation where people who were essentially either community organizers or administrators are now put in charge of entrepreneurship. So, you know, that's like, you're asking, a fireman to go do surgery. I mean, the fact, the fact is that if you have a responsibility to understand the game or the domain that you're getting into, and
Right.
you have because these young people are starting to believe in you, and when you're telling them, hey, come into our boot camp program, come in program is going to work, and this is what's going to happen, and they sell you fantasies and dreams. Okay, but that is not how the real world works. So you have to have a responsibility as an organization, okay, to know what the hell you're doing, or what you are actually doing is you're setting back an entire generation. Okay, you're setting them back with a false sense of how the universe and how the world works, and you're taking away that competitive spirit, because like you said, it's a dog eat dog world. Okay, and you got to fight and claw every single damn day, and if you think for a minute you deserve anything, you're dead. Okay, you don't
Right.
deserve anything. Okay, you got to go fight for it. And then one more point. The other thing that they don't understand is that when you raise money, whether it's from a friends and family, angel, pre-seed, seed, what you see is that there's series A, series B, you're constantly raising money. Even big companies are constantly raising money. So to tell somebody that, hey, we're going to give you a $10,000 grant and you could start a business, it's just asinine. And I think these people have a responsibility to understand what they're doing first before they go advise people in terms of doing the wrong thing.
No, and absolutely. And again, one of the things when we talk about those big three, again, the folks that are in there driving or you're working with, these are founders who have done it themselves.
Correct. Correct.
Right. So again, they have the connections, they have the capital, but they also have the understanding of how this stuff actually works.
Yes.
Right. And
Yes.
so, the advisory that they'll give you is completely different than what we're seeing here in the Canadian landscape, even at Mars, I would argue.
Yes.
Right. It's
Yes.
a completely different atmosphere. We're talking about, I don't know what, I think the population still in the US is 380
Something like
million,
that. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Versus 40 in
And
Canada. It's a completely
yeah, Canada's
different,
no market. There's no, yeah, you're right.
it's a completely different ball game.
Yeah.
And again, even the levels of wealth. I mean, the amount of billionaires they have in the United States is like the number of millionaires, that we have in
Yeah.
Canada,
Yeah.
or even exceeds it, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah. So again, it comes back to, like you said, the reality of the situation and understanding that, one of the things I've heard, which kind of best sums it up, is, you know, um, have someone who's, or seek advice from those who have done what you're trying to do,
Correct.
and then customize it for your way, right?
Correct.
Because it's not
Correct.
going to be exact, right? But it
Correct.
goes to what you're saying in terms of those who are advising you on your entrepreneurship journey
Hmm.
have to have at least walked the path, know the industry you're in.
Yeah.
There's got
Yeah.
to be some familiarity.
Yeah. Yeah. There has to be some, and to be taking advice from those who've not done it and are dealing with government. I want to come back to an important point you said. We are the only community, right? Maybe not the only one. So we can just speak for what we know. So what we are witnessing in our community is that we want to create, we hear it all the time. We want to create long-term wealth. We want to create intergenerational wealth. We want to create opportunity and all those things. Okay. But we look to government Okay, we look to government, and we have a dependency on government to give us money in order to create our wealth. But that's not how wealth is created. Now, yeah, we understand slavery and we understand all of that. Okay, but nobody is going to give you anything in life that's worth anything. Many other communities, what they do, okay, immigrant communities, many immigrant communities have come to Canada, whether it's the Italian or Chinese, Indian, whatever. One of the things that they do is that they invest it within themselves,
Right,
okay, or in each other, okay. They invest in each other. But you and I both know, okay, when it comes to investment, what I find a lot of people in our community do, they talk about they want to achieve wealth, they talk about all these things, but if you go look for them to make an investment or whatnot, it's crickets. And what they do, oh, you look to these community programs in order to get wealth, in order to get investments. But that's not how it works. It works with taking risk within your group, okay, and investing in within your group and investing in each other, and then you slowly move up. And as you invest in each other, businesses start, and it creates wealth in the community, and that passes on to the next generation. But it's almost a colonial legacy type of thing where we become dependent on government or authority for our own well-being, and that mindset, that dependency mindset, is a killer. It is
right,
a killer. And I just think, I just wanted to go back to that because, I wanted to maybe expand a little bit more on that, because I think that is one of the things that we are looking for. It's like the government owes us this, right?
right,
Everything is woke. The government owes us, and nobody owes you nothing,
right.
right? So maybe, I mean, you can expand on it a little bit, but those are my feelings on it.
No, like I said, entrepreneurship is a competitive sport, right? And
Yes.
it helps if you have the support of your community, both as consumers,
Yeah.
clients,
Yeah.
and investors, right? That's the huge advantage, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it's unrealistic to expect um, another group to prioritize you
Yeah.
in terms of investment or whatnot. And of course they will if the idea is good. So if we're talking about the merit of the business venture and you're proving revenue and whatnot, that's a different story. But if it's just based on the fact that they should give you investment because black entrepreneurs don't historically get a lot of investment,
Yeah.
that will never fly. And the
Yeah.
thing that we don't understand is that they'll things will be said, right? Commit commitments will be made that are never followed through upon. And
Yes.
what happens in that time is we waste time, right?
Yes.
So
Waste time.
so
Yes.
so we had 20 years where the barrier to entry to start a business in tech or a business that leverages tech was relatively low because it was relatively cheap to get into this game. It wasn't like before where you would have to have the capital to build and get the capital equipment for a manufacturing plant. You could literally build a product or service in your, I don't want to say garage, but a garage. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So just to use that analogy, right? Um, and so it was a period of time where if you had the right team or you had the right capabilities yourself, you could get something up and running and sell it for a decent amount. I think Instagram had 11 people when they sold to Facebook for 50 million or whatever it was. It was 11 people, right? So
Yep.
but so that I think that opportunity I think is passing quick, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
people may think that, well, AI, it's so easy to stand things up and AI can write apps. No, you're going to be competing with a million different apps if that's how you're doing it. You know what I'm saying? So you have to,
Yeah.
so it's forcing you to now, your business ideas have to be completely different. Trends are changing. You have to watch those. So for example, just a quick example, I've been reading that dating apps,
Yes.
people who are in the dating market are abandoning apps and they're going back traditional, right?
Yes. Yes.
There's another movement where people, younger generations, actually are concerned and care about their privacy, right? So they're
Yes.
not embracing certain things because they don't want to jeopardize their privacy. They value it,
Yes.
right? So there are
Yes.
trends that are changing. But then when we look at what it takes to start up one of these businesses now, it's a lot more capital. Why? Because the
Yes.
cost of living has gone up tremendously. No one's going
Yep.
to sit there and work for free for 8 months in Toronto. Who can do that?
Exactly.
Right?
I don't know
Right? For
anywhere.
sweat equity.
Yes.
So
Yes.
so unless they're a primary partner that's in it with you, you're going to have to shell out some serious money
Yep.
to get something built, and brought to market. Um,
Yep.
so the longer we do these things where we're not serious, and again, this goes back to the civil rights leader, the civil
Yeah.
rights leaders of the 60s, where
Yes.
Malcolm X was saying, you got to build businesses. We have to
Yep.
build businesses. If we
Yep.
don't build businesses, we're cooked, right?
Yep.
And you
Yep.
can play some of those speeches today, and they would be 100%
That's
relevant.
accurate. Yep.
Like he gave it this afternoon, because that's the
Yep.
same position that we're in,
Same thing. Yep.
right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
again, I don't even, we're just stuck in the mud. We're not doing anything of significance. And so
Yes.
as a result, we're falling way behind. And there's going to
Yep.
be a point of no return where
Yep.
it really is almost impossible,
Yep.
to get back. It just like it was when it was, if you want to start, there's a reason why there's only a handful of car manufacturers.
Yep.
The barriers to entry are high,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
And if we
No.
talk about true AI, where, like you said, Sam Altman is trying to raise $10 trillion or
Yeah.
something insane.
7 trillion. Yeah.
7 trillion. Oh,
Yeah.
so when we talk about that, that's when you're going to see a real divergence in those barriers to entry appear again. And so, in my opinion, we've lost 2 decades of an
Yes.
opportunity, where we could have, progressed a lot further than we did.
100%. And I think that point, if you said we've lost a lot of time, I think since George Floyd, we've lost and wasted a tremendous amount of time. For all the nonprofit, for all the DEI inspired, invested in Black people, wealth creation in Black people, where are we? There are no results. Where are the results? Where are all these Black businesses? Where else? They're all because it's been constant talk. And then the other thing is in my business, and in your business too, we work with it. We work with AI. People don't get it. AI is not going to make it easier. It's going to make it harder. Okay,
Yes.
because if you look like people, even I read a statistic the other day, less people are going into the accounting business because you can now have a fractional CFO. You now can
Right.
have AI technology that can do a lot of these particular things. So from a number crunching perspective, it can do that. But you just need somebody who can give valuable advice. So you're not going to need all those particular things. So what happens now, because the machine is so good at doing certain things, right? People think, oh, it's going to make it easy. It makes it more competitive because they need you for less. I even sent my daughter an article. I think it was in Forbes that finance degrees used to be one of the top degrees, and then you can walk in and you can entry level with a finance degree and work your way to the top. What they're saying now, that degree has less value because they don't need any entry level stuff, because all the number crunching, all the analytical stuff, the machine can do it.
Right.
So your degree does not mean as much. So you're going to have to be able to be more of a creator, and you're going to have to be more entrepreneurial if you want to succeed going forward. So people, I think, they're not living in the real world. Now, I want to sort of use an example. So you heard about that case in the U.S. I think it's gone up to like even the appellate courts, and they lost. But there was this Black women's VC fund, and the somebody challenged them and said it was unconstitutional to just be given money to Black women, the VCs, because that money was coming from government sources, right? So
Right.
because it's coming from government sources, it was challenged in the fact, well, this is public money essentially, and now you're discriminating, you're giving it um, to only black women, and the guy who challenged him has won, and this VC fund has been shut down. Now, mind you, my perspective is, whatever. This guy has been doing. So what happens now is that they basically lost the case, and this VC stuff is shut down. So my perspective on it is this. We all know that this particular person who brings the lawsuits bring these type of lawsuits and all that, right? But the point is this: if you are dealing with public money, okay, then that's the way it goes. If you want to just give money to black women and create a VC fund, make it private. That's what private enterprise is for. Make it private and do whatever the hell you want. Nobody can stop you if you're a private enterprise. But if you're taking money from the public, it's a different story. So my point is this, at the end of the day, there is no secret in terms of success. At the end of the day, entrepreneurship hasn't changed. You can't manufacture it. You can't create this. And I find we just get distracted with all these alternative solutions. But at the end of the day, we are distracted from what the real solution of entrepreneurship is all about in terms of from a private sector perspective.
Right.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. So I haven't been following. I didn't follow that case. So you just gave me the background on it. And to be honest with you, so I stopped watching these headlines with anything to do with Black VC, Black entrepreneur. I kind of tuned it out. And so at the end of the day, like I said, this is primal. This is hunter gatherer. This is this is competitive, right? So if we can't invest in ourselves first, then it's just like a VC. You can't go to a VC and ask VC for money if you haven't invested in yourself.
Exactly.
Right? What risk have you taken?
Yes.
Right.
Exactly.
So why am I going to invest my money in you if you haven't invested in your own self? Right.
No,
so
100%.
Right. So that's where we are. Yeah. So at the end of the day, I just so one thing that irks me is like, so it's one thing I saw the emotion from Black women over this issue, right? And I saw it, I read it, but I didn't get into the details of it. But it's just strange to me when I see Black men carry the same emotion, because it's not, like I said, it's not the emotion that the emotion or the makeup that we're going up against in a competitive environment, which is business. Okay. There is no feelings. I mean, there's a reason why the term "this is business." It's just business.
It's business.
Exists. This is dog eat dog. Right. So to think that you're going to get something on an emotional plea, on guilting someone into giving you equal opportunity. There is no equality in this world.
There is none. You got to create your own privilege. And you know what? You're so right. And a lot of Black men are like, now, safe spaces, and like, what are you talking about? What safe space is there in the universe? And if you are a man, and if you're just to take care of your family, right? If you want to go into business, like, nobody's going to deal with you if you're whining and complaining and saying you deserve something. You're not. You're right. It's only business. So if you're going to be in business, be in business. Be in business. Work hard. Go after it. Have no fear. You're going to fail or you're going to succeed. It's as simple as that. Okay, but going in and telling people, oh, you owe me this and you owe me that, and give me money where I haven't even invested in myself. What risk have you taken yourself? You usually go to the VC and ask other people money when you need it, because you've put all yours that you can do and you need some help. So no one in their right mind is gonna give you money if you haven't brought some to the table. And this is the problem when you're taking public money, right? Because these people are getting public money, it's being given out, and really, what risk have they taken? So what happens, that the probability of failure for these people getting the money are extremely high, because they believe entrepreneurship is this other universe, nice and warm, milk and cookies type of universe. That universe doesn't exist, right?
No, and that's it. And that's where we go back to the harm, right? And that is counterproductive. So for example, you know, a lot of these funds, because they're so focused, and it sounds like even the one with the black women was so
Yeah.
focused on a black business, which
Yes.
means your customers are
That's
black,
what I mean.
and right, and you're gonna get VC, especially with public money. That doesn't make
Yeah.
sense.
Black
But the
business.
problem is, right, when we're
Yeah.
talking about VC, it should be, yes, you have niche markets and whatnot, but it shouldn't be restricted by race.
That's madness.
Does any of the tech giants say this is a white only? We're addressing the white market. Facebook is for white faces.
It's
No,
ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And you know what? It's ridiculous. And it's like, so if I have my business, I'm going to listen, I'm a black, I happen to be black running the business. To
right.
go in there and say black business, I think that even if they're not talking about running it for black business, for black customers only, which I don't think the majority of them is, but the sound of it, when you talk to your mind, your subconscious, plays a role. So people think, oh, even the people giving you money, or even if the people you're going in front of think that, oh, it's for black businesses, it's only for black people or for black customers. Then why would anybody give you money? Because the market share is not big enough. How are
You've
you going to
already
make a
put
profit only serving one community? Do Chinese restaurants and Italian restaurants or whatnot only serve Italians and Chinese or whatnot? That's sort of the crazy mentality. And again, if you're taking public money, okay, that a lot of that money is just politically motivated, right? In the first place, and it's not really helping. Now, I want to take a few minutes to just maybe go through some of the events that's been happening. As you know, I wrote an article the other day. I contributed to an article the other day about these scandals with the BBPA, right? Black Business and Professional
right.
Association. So I don't want to talk about the scandal. People can go read the article. The article is posted on Buy Black magazine. But what I want to talk about is, a lot of people after said, okay, let's you try to get rid of the board and save the BBPA and all that. But my question is, how relevant is the BBPA anymore?
Right.
Okay. What does the BBPA represent? How many people does it help? The BBPA has become a gala, a once a year gala. And from what I understood, I've heard numbers floating anywhere from 300 to half a million to run these galas. Okay. Instead of running these galas, what about if money were invested in younger people or whatever? That money can go a lot further. So my thing is that what is the relevance of an organization? Because people today, younger people today, what does it do for me? Because there's so many organizations. There's so many organizations. I know there's one organization that helps Black professionals find jobs in the tech sector or whatnot. That's something that's useful. So an organization that's been around for so long now, people like, let's save it, but maybe not saving it would be a good idea, or transforming it to the digital age, or transforming it to the 21st century, so we can find a value proposition and a way that it can actually help people, as opposed to the nostalgia of, let's save it. So I don't know, what are your overall thoughts? I know you read the article, but what are your overall thoughts on the BBPA? Forget about the scandal, but just the relevance of the organization now in the 21st century.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough. At the end of the day, a business association, and so again, let's make the distinguish. So from the BPPA standpoint, because it's been a while since I've actually looked at their mandate, but
Yeah,
because it's a Black Business Professional Association, is the majority of their services and whatnot catered towards career development, or is it entrepreneurship?
man, this is a good question. Um, Only up until I think 2020 or 2021, when they got the money from the government, did they actually have programs, right?
Right.
So to be honest with you, from what I see on their website, it's hard to determine,
So I
right?
think
And the
that
money that they had
you're
never went to any of the programs. It went to,
right.
that's what the whole thing on the scale. So it's hard to tell, man.
No, and so to that point, like, what is the relevance, right? So if it's for career development and whatnot, then we should hire at this point in time, clear programs and successes and milestones or whatnot that they've accomplished in that realm. If it's to do business development, then again, what value are they bringing to those businesses, right?
Yes.
And again, so there's been a lot of organizations that got up and running to do business, and one of them was, for example, well, I won't name what it was, but I remember having a meeting with those who created it, and they asked me, what should they be doing and whatnot, right? And I said, so the first things first, their meetings or whatnot were like at Saturday at 1 p.m. Okay.
Yeah.
And it's like real business associations were meeting for breakfast at 6 a.m. during the week.
Exactly.
And the reason why we're going to go there at 6 a.m. in the heart of downtown at a nice location to eat breakfast and network is because it's actually worth it to us to do so.
Yes.
It's a business development task that will result in revenue.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So there's no way I'm giving up my Saturday at 1 p.m.
Yeah, I got family.
Right. For a workshop on what? Right? So again, it's like again, we got to talk. I guess it goes back to what kind of entrepreneurs are we talking about, right?
Yes. Yeah.
And what is the scale of the operation, or what is the scope? Because that's where I think we're not at the table. And again, where we are, what it would seem in terms of our actions, there will be no economic development. There will be no economic progress.
No.
And again, in the world that we're going to, I talked about this for the last 20 years about AI and the future of work. We've got some very incredible challenges coming up, right? And again, I've always said it. People have heard me say it on every single podcast I've come on. But again, if I own a 500-person firm, right, and I'm a certain ethnic group, say I'm green, and I've got a 500-person firm, right, and I believed in diversity and whatnot, so 100 of those employees are also of all different colors, right? So 400 are green like me, and the other 100 are diverse. But now I have this AI stuff, which allows me to take my organization from 500 to 200.
Yep.
How many people aren't green in that organization right? And
100%. No, 100%. 100%.
And that's where we're going. You know what I mean? So again, pleading, everybody's in a race, everybody's puts their team first. So relying solely on other teams to put us in the thing, that would be like me begging someone on the podium to let me share the podium with them.
That's what it is.
Right? Like it's not realistic, right? And so when I said about, earlier on about, how this emotion and this unrealistic view of how this world works has been it just comes out all over LinkedIn, right? And this is this collective victimhood. And to me, it's just like, what are we doing? And it to me, and I'm going to say it, it represents weakness.
100%.
The people that we're appealing to, the people who have money, the people who have success, it's power, and it's called power for a reason. And they are not enamored by weakness. It's a turnoff. They're not going to invest in weakness. They're not going to do business with weakness.
Yep. And I think, I think it was last year, the president of Ghana made a speech in the US, right? And he basically said Africans have to, there's more context, but he was made a speech about, it was called Stop Begging. That was the speech. So basically he said, we need to stop begging. We need to be able to do things for ourselves. Like begging people is not going to work. It never has worked in history, and it won't work now. And the fact that you said, if you own your own business, okay, if you own your own business, you can decide who the hell you hire. It's a private enterprise. I mean, my accounting firm, it's a small firm, but I think at least 30 people. But the majority of the people are from a particular ethnic group. I have no problem with that. He can do what he wants. It's his firm. right? So we have to understand that there's no equity here. There's no such thing as fairness. You got to create your own equity. And if we don't change this mindset of creating our own equity as opposed to begging for things and the government owes us this and owes us that, if we continue along this way, we've wasted so much time again, particularly after George Floyd, that we have this mentality of look into organizations or look into others or dependent on others for things that we need to do ourselves in this capitalistic society. And that's really, at the end of the day, what entrepreneurship is like. So we're at the top of our hour. We're about to go a little bit over. We're trying to keep it to an hour. So listen, I appreciate this. Any closing thoughts? Anything you wanna leave us with before we go?
I would just say that, that it's so important for us to see the world for what it is, right?
Yeah, yeah,
And to be very, very honest
yeah,
about what it is, to be aware of what's
yeah,
happening, how
yeah,
that will impact
yeah,
our children and our youth,
yeah.
because we're in some aren't we're going into uncharted
Territory.
territory,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Everybody always, would say to me, so when I would speak about AI and the future of work, people would always make the quip to me like, "Oh, I bet you horses were real nervous when the cars came in, ha ha ha." And it's like, look at the population of horses now versus then.
yeah, yeah.
If they're no longer needed for industrial use, the population is going to shrink, right?
Yes, yes,
So again, so what we're talking about here, where we're heading, is very it's uncharted. We've never replaced. I mean, again, even if we talk about the automobiles, we talk about industrialization. There was always a notch for us to go up in terms of we became from industrial workers to knowledge workers and whatnot. But if
yeah,
we're saying AI is going to replace or take a lion's share of knowledge workers, what else can we do,
yeah,
right?
yeah. No,
And and and
100%.
and again, the other thing is that even if we're saying that, okay, we're going to work alongside AI, well, how much is our competition going to take a hit if AI
Yeah,
is doing the complex stuff, right?
yeah,
So we don't have time to waste, and we have to be, like I said, we have to be very honest in terms of the how we view the world and how we, I don't want to say attack it, but in a competitive mindset, attack it,
yes, yeah,
right? How are
yeah,
we going to go out, provide value, take some revenue out of the market share or gain some market share, um, and that cannot be from expecting others to do it for us or to invest and
yes,
whatnot. We have to do it, and if
yeah,
not, then each of us, we have to go out on our own and make our claim
yeah,
for our own individual families, right?
yeah.
And you
No,
said something in terms of like even my green example or whatnot, like even during COVID, and there were the mandates. There was a couple of university students who
mhm,
chose not to get vaccinated, and they were excluded from their studies for a year.
yeah,
But I hired them. We were working
yeah,
remotely anyways. We're a tech
yeah,
company, right?
yeah,
So
yeah,
so so I hired them, and that's what you can do as an entrepreneur, right? In terms of having those choices. But if a community only has a handful, it's not going to be enough. And again, it's going to lead to a very precarious situation,
yeah,
where I don't know what, I don't know how promising the future looks if we don't get more businesses established. And like you said, you started us off with authentic entrepreneurship. That's what
yeah,
we need: authentic entrepreneurs,
yeah.
authentic. And so yeah, I'll leave it there because I can go on, but really it's that authentic entrepreneurship and the ability to,
Mhm,
be able to take care of our community from an employment standpoint,
yes.
as things shift. If we can't do that, then we are super vulnerable.
No, 100%, and that's a good way to end it. On authentic entrepreneurship. So listen, just a quick, housekeeping stuff. Just going to ask everybody who's tuned in or like the show to subscribe. I think last time we had Andrew on, I got about the 30% subscription growth at that time. So let's try to maybe do 50% this time. But Look, Applied Intelligence with Perry Douglas is simply a show for independent thinking. Okay, there's no left conservative side or right or left side. We just want to have independent thinking, which can be backed up by facts, and we want to deal with reality. So the whole thing about applied intelligence is to apply your intelligence to the problems that you want to solve or to have a better understanding of it. So I say leave your emotion at the door. And what you're going to get is you're going to get good, honest conversation. And we hope to have, more entrepreneurs or independent thinkers like Andrew on the show. So please click that button, subscribe, and we're going to try to do more shows on a weekly basis with very interesting people. But if I can't find an interesting person, then I won't be doing it weekly. I'll do it when we get those interesting people. But all is well. And I thank you, Andrew, for coming in. But one more thing, who do you have tonight, Celtics or the Mavs?
Man, that's a tough one. I'm going to say the Mavs, though. I'm going to say they're going to bounce
Tonight,
back.
you have the Mavs tonight, or for the series?
Both.
Yeah, so me too. Me too. Celtics look good, and Pozinga, whatever his name was, like, where did he
Yes.
come from? Like he's not gonna
Who,
have
who,
another game like that.
who sits? He was out for 38 consecutive games and just came back and lit up the place like that. Like, that was crazy.
That was absolutely crazy. And actually, last night I watched I still like hockey, so it was a Canadian team, and the
Yeah, yeah,
Oilers against the Panthers. But I think the Panthers gonna dominate. So I got the Panthers probably in six there. So we got a lot of sports to watch over the next little while. All
absolutely.
right.
Yeah.
Okay, my
Good.
brother, and tell your wife and the daughter they're on the podcast now.
Are you sure you can't? You're not going to edit them out?
We'll see what I can do.
Thank you.
All right, take care, man. All right, all the
All right.
best. Okay,
All right.
bye
You too.
bye.
Later. Bye.